What up, my fellow Lions fans? I'm just going over some of the Detroit Lions NFL draft picks for 2019. And after that, I'm planning to touch on some random teams, mostly the NFC North and maybe a few others. I live in DC, so probably the Redskins and like the Cleveland Browns because I think their draft was interesting and they're kind of our brother in suffering. But I'll dive right into it just to kind of look at it. An overview of the draft is I think after the draft, especially on Twitter and on all social media, every Lions fan sort of divided into what seemed like two groups. You had the Soul Lions fans and the Kool-Aid Lions fans. Soul being same old Lions, Lions fans, which is a term that for people that are younger, right? Like no matter what the Lions do, we're the same old Lions. We always are making poor choices. And then the Kool-Aid fans, as in, drinking the Kool-Aid of what Bob Quinn's trying to sell us. I didn't even come up with that. That was mentioned on the Pride of Detroit podcast. But I think those names are pretty accurate, and I feel like that's exactly what happened. I put myself closer to the Kool-Aid fans, the people that were super optimistic about the draft, at least more optimistic than pessimistic. And I think like we touched basically every need we had. I would have liked us to pick edge a little earlier than we did because, here we are at, round four. But I mean, Bob Quinn's well known for his late picks. And so I think it's Austin Bryant might end up being a starter earlier than other teams would have thought he would have been. Like that Bob Quinn saw something in him that maybe other teams didn't see because he's very good with late round picks. You got to think, Darius Slay came from a second rounder. Warford came from a third or fourth rounder. It's some good players did come from deep in the draft. So going through the first one, starting out, we got round one. We got T.J. Hawkinson from a tight end from Iowa. As much as I wasn't a fan of picking a tight end in the first round, I don't think it was terrible. I think that the reason people don't like this pick is more because it's a tight end and not because they know anything about the player or they dislike anything they see about the player. Which I think is a poor criticism. I think, just because we've drafted a tight end in the top 10 before and the tight end turned out to not work out for us, that's like not a good reason to not draft a tight end again, unless that's like been repeated throughout several teams. Since it's only happened to us, yeah, I just don't think it's a good criticism, especially if you look at his tape. He's very athletic. We obviously our offense stalled. We need some big guy on our offense to kind of give it new life. So, who knows, but not that he's a specifically good route runner like Golden Tate was, but, he could be what we need to get our offense, moving again. Looking over second pick, we got a linebacker out of Hawaii, and I think it's a similar kind of thing. People don't know about him, so the people that were kind of negative on the pick were sort of haven't seen the tape on him because he doesn't go to, he goes to Hawaii, not, Bama or, a Big Ten school or something like that. Granted, it is odd. I remember, when we drafted the tight end, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, not who I would have chosen, but, like, I'm also not, management at the Lions, so I don't know everything. Round two, a linebacker was kind of curious. I was kind of confused. And it felt almost like one of the Raiders of Giants picks. It was kind of like, do we, why? Greedy Williams was still on the board, who was one of my favorite players in the draft. But I mean, it's a defensive pick. And let's be honest, Detroit, anytime we've been good in recent memory, it's because our defense has been stellar and our offense has been good enough. So, I wasn't totally against it. I thought it was an interesting pick. Only time will tell. Next, we had another defensive pick, a safety out of Boston College. This is another player that I didn't see much film on, despite the fact that he does go to Boston College, which is a college I would have seen more footage on. But a safety is a good choice. Our secondary does need help. We've got only Darius Slay. Great addition. After I saw his film, I kind of liked it. So coming to round four, we talked about this. We had the edge out of Clemson. We needed an edge at some point. Will he start? I don't know. It's pretty late in the draft to be someone that starts day one, but we got some help at the position. And that's kind of what we needed. And the fact that we picked an edge in the, earlier half of our picks, even in round four, which is still like not the best round, but a pretty decent round. Like I'm pretty happy with that. Of all the picks, I think I would say these two were kind of my favorite. Actually, I would say these three, but we're getting to that. Round 5. This is a great pick, and actually, what's funny about this pick is I feel like. And what's funny about this pick is I feel like if these two guys were switched, people would be a lot happier with the draft. He was someone, even from Barkley, he was a teammate of him, obviously, at Penn State, was tweeting out he was so surprised that he was still around round 4 and round 5. Really great player who just kind of fell because, people picked up Greedy Williams and teams that were going to pick up corners didn't. Like I said, I literally just said, these 3 were probably my favorite in the pick in the draft, but him especially. That's definitely a steal in the 5th round. And so, when I was up here kind of worrying, like, what are we doing? Here it's kind of like, oh, okay, that is a 5th round pick with the value of like a 3rd round pick or something, like I don't know. Regardless, great pick, helps the secondary out. Great to see 3 defensive picks in a row, or 4, I'm sorry, 4 defensive picks in a row. That's really awesome. And then lastly, these are kind of positions that we needed depth at, kind of also these, but ignoring that, these were kind of positions we needed depth at, and it's kind of good to see that, we did use the late round picks to pick up some young guys who can kind of fill in. And who knows, you never know. It wouldn't be the first time late round picks, ended up being solid starters. So you never count them out too much. Looking around the league, I'm debating if I should bring up, I'll probably just put the highlights of other people on it. Like I said, some interesting picks. Greedy Williams was picked up by the Cleveland Browns. I think he'll be a force. I really wish we could have gotten him. I loved, looking at the draft, I loved the Washington Redskins draft. Haskins and, was it Sweaty? I think both players that were, very highly anticipated fell all the way to the Washington Redskins. So those were some steals by them. Giants and Raiders, obviously, kind of a question mark. Our division didn't have any too amazing drafts. I hear a lot of people were pretty excited about the Vikings, saying the Vikings draft was insane. But definitely the Packers and the Bears kind of stayed the course. Didn't really pick anything too exciting. The Packers didn't really pick O-line help, I think, in the first round, which was kind of their issue. So Aaron Rodgers will still be dancing around dealing with a lot of pressure. And hopefully with our new defensive picks, we can really put that pressure on him. Again, though, I looked at the Vikings, not a particularly stellar draft, but I think a lot of people think that they were the best of our division. Just kind of backs up my theory. I think they're going to be a little scary next year, and I think the Bears are going to fall, but we'll see. Anyway, that's it. I'll try to keep this semi-short. Just some good draft coverage. We don't have a lot going on, so maybe I'll do a Q&A or keeping up with spring training or follow Hard Knocks or something like that. To give some more Lions footage in the offseason. Maybe I'll do something about hockey or baseball or something.